Part of this thing after this. It's all you.
All right. Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. I was asked to do a presentation on antennas. What I'm not going to do is we're not going to get into the weeds. I'm not going to get into the antenna K factors and all that stuff, velocity factor. What I'm going to do is describe the various antennas and what they do and what they're good for. So we're going to start with a dipole. A dipole is just simply a half wave, two pieces of wire with the coax in the middle, as we see right here. It's directional per se because the lobes go this way, and the side lobes aren't as strong. But it's a good starting antenna. I mean, I'm a 20-year military radio operator, and we put up dipoles every time we go out in the field. So, for instance, I would deploy from the 3rd Mob out at Tinker to Hagelman up at north part of Oklahoma, Jet, Oklahoma, and we would set up a dipole antenna between two military-grade formats, and they work great. They're not a very good DX antenna because they're not going to go a long way, but given conditions, who knows? So that's a dipole. Now, a lot of antennas are dipoles. This is a dipole. Why? Because it's got two elements. Now they end up back over here, but they cross in the middle. They don't touch in the middle, but they cross. How many of you use a dipole? So it's the easiest antenna to set up. Verticals. How many of you own a vertical? Yeah, most of us own vertical. A vertical is a great DX antenna, depending on your condition. Now, keep in mind that antennas are totally dependent on how high they are up off the ground, and the type of ground. In other words, my vertical may work well at my house, but if I go to your house, it may not work as well because of the difference in the structure and the makeup of the ground. The the best ground is water. I used to go when I was in Florida. We used to go out to the beach and just stick a vertical in the sand where the salt water would run right up on it, and just throw some radials in there. And man, I'll tell you what, you can work the world. So verticals are very good because they have a low takeoff angle. Now, takeoff angle by itself doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, it just tells you, okay, it has a lower takeoff angle than, let's say, a dipole or an infed halfway. So it makes it for a real good DX type antenna. The low takeoff angle coupled with the gain, if there is any gain on your vertical, I'll give you, for instance, most of you know that I build infed half waves. The first infed half wave that I built is this. And this is the way we sold them. There's no antenna wire. You provide your own wire. So if you want to work 40 meters, you would provide 66 feet of wire and tune it for that. Tune it for 40 meters at the low end. Because this antenna, or this particular box, how many of you know WD5G or have heard of WD5G? He's a friend of mine. He has one of these boxes, and I gave him a 35-foot push-up pole, and he took one of these boxes, ran 32 feet of wire up that pole. So now he has a vertical antenna using this box, and he can tune that to 40 to 10 meters, and it works great, but it's a vertical. Now, if you turn this, turn this into, well, we'll get that here in a minute. The vertical antennas are great. They can be expensive. If you buy, how many of you remember Dave Duskin? Dave had a 43-foot vertical in his backyard, and he worked the world with that vertical. I mean, it was a great antenna, but it's also an expensive antenna. And a lot of people, like myself, I live on a city lot. I don't have a lot of space to put up huge antennas. A vertical is pretty much perfect for kind of stuff like that, mainly because I have the electric power lines that run right through my backyard. So I can't do a lot antenna-wise. So my antennas that I use are based upon my particular circumstances. Yes, I do have a 4-element 6-meter beam. It's not very high, but I can't use 6-element 6-meter beam because the boom length would probably rotate right into my high wire. Not a good thing. So yeah, maybe. But so the antennas that you look at for your particular circumstance, how many of you live on acres of land? See, I wished I had that because I could put up, I could do whatever I wanted to without worrying about how high I'm going to go. If it falls down, is it going to hit the neighbor's house? So you have to determine the best antenna for you. So you have a dipole, you have a vertical. Verticals are great for DX. Then we'll talk about the loop first. We have loop antennas. This is a loop. It's an HF loop. It does 80 meters to just about 17 meters. Loops they're great antennas. Most of the loops that I own, this is a QRP. This one won't handle more than 20 watts. But there are, MFJ makes a great loop that will handle 100, 200 watts. They are very low noise. Well, a lot of DXers use use a loop for receive and a Yagi for transmit. And we'll get into a Yagi, beaming antenna. We'll get into those here in a minute. But this is a great little antenna. I use this, as you can see, I have a hook attached to my ceiling in my room. And it hangs right over the window in my room that points out towards the north. So inside my house, using 5 watts, I've made QSOs into Wisconsin, Utah, with this loop. These are great antennas. And he knows. So, and loop, yes, loops are very good antennas. And this one is not that expensive. You built yours though. Well, I bought this, it's $139. But if you look at MFJ's loop, it's like 300, 400 bucks. And there are loops out there that they're costing $600, $700. Why? This works perfect for that. And if you build your own, it's even cheaper. So that's right. The thing that I don't like about loop antennas, unless you have one of those things on the front of your control box that you push a button and it will tune it by itself, so you're not standing there, you have to tune it. And when you put your hand there, that makes a difference now. So that tuning is not going to be the same when you remove your hand. So you kind of have to say, okay, I'll turn it here, let's back off and see what happens. So sometimes they can be a pain in the rear to tune, but they're great little antennas. Then of course we have the in-fed half waves. Mark told me there was a debate in this club about, off center feds and in-fed. Palomar Engineers has an antenna they call a center fed or an in-fed off center fed. And I didn't understand that. But if you understand an OCF antenna or a in-fed antenna, an in-fed is just that. It's fed at the end of the antenna. So here is the end of the antenna. And this is where your coax would go. And then here's the antenna. Now this is cut for 20 meters. So if I stretch this out, this becomes an in-fed antenna. Now the good thing about in-fed antennas and OCFs, not so much an OCF because an OCF has a horizontal component and then a vertical component. How many of you are familiar with a Wyndham? Wyndham is nothing more than an off-center fed antenna. So, an in-fed, because it has a 49-to-1 balun inside, and we're not going to get into that a whole lot because that's winding baluns is another hour and a half, 2-hour lecture. So yeah, okay. But if you run this out, this is 33 feet of wire. I don't have the space to run 33 feet of wire. I live on a city lot. 33 feet, pretty cramped for me. But I don't have it running in a straight line. I have an 80 to 10 meter in-fed half wave, and it runs from about 20 foot on my tower to the corner of my fence, which is about 30 feet, I guess, to the north. And then it runs back to the west for 65 feet. And then back to the south on my fence line. Now, at both corners, they're elevated. So I have a 15-foot push-up pole on this corner, and I have an 8-foot fence post on this corner. It works great. People say, well, how can that work for you?
That'll never work.
Yeah. Most of you know I'm a QRPer. Most of the time I do QRP 5 watts or less, and I use that in-fed halfway for all of my QRP stuff. And I've got 133 BX country, so it's a great little antenna. Versus, and once I've tuned this, let's say I've got a 40 meter. A lot of you have bought those 40 to 10 meter antennas from me. Once you put that up, once you tune the 20 meter portion to 20 meters, then it will tune on 10 without tuning. You add the 40 meter length of wire, which is another 33 feet, tune that to 40 meters, and it will tune 40, 20, 15, 10 meters without tuning. The OCF, which is similar, will do the same thing, but it will tune on, just like my infig. It'll tune on the work bands, 17 meters, 30 meters, but I have to use a tuner with it. I do the same thing with an OCF. The OCF will tune a lot of frequencies without a tuner, but there are some bands, and it depends on which antenna you buy. How many of you have an off-center fed? Does it tune on 15 meters? Okay. And most of them will not. So, 15 meters. Unless it's built very well. Of course, I always say you get what you pay for. So if you pay $20 for an off-center fed antenna, you're going to get a $20 antenna that you may not like. But if you go out and pay $150, $160 for your off-center fed, then it'll probably be a good antenna for you. I'm not knocking it, but I prefer the end-fed myself. So, yes, sir. The quality of the coil, because inside, at least all the antennas, has a toroid, and that toroid is wound with 14 turns of magnifier. I'm pretty meticulous on how I wind my coils. A lot of people aren't. You can open up a lot of these boxes and you'll see that they're very close spaced. There's hardly any air between them, and that affects how well the coil works. Yes. So that would be the difference between a $20 antenna and $150. Oh yes, yeah, certainly can. And why they cost $160? Beyond me. They've got probably less than $40 worth of parts in them. The most expensive part of this is the toroid. Yes, go ahead. This is a 140/43. 43 seems to be the optimum, and it's a ferrite, it's not an iron core. Iron cores do not work for in-fed half-wave antenna or an OCF. So you want a ferrite core. This is a ferrite core, not an iron core. So 43, the 140 is the distance, the outside diameter of this core. All the in-fed half-waves that I sell are all 240, so they're 2.4 inches across. The 43 is the mix. 43 seems to be the best mix for antennas. 61, got a 240/61. That's good for chokes, things like that. Good cut interference. If you want a really good tutorial on polaroids and cores and all that stuff. Palomar engineers. Of course, now Palomar engineers are the ones that they call their OCF an infed OCF, which still boggles my mind. But so we've talked about verticals, and while I'm on the subject of verticals, this is a vertical. It's also you can change the band by moving this down here up and down. So by turning this, unlock it here. There we go. So that changes. It's just like this coil. This is a Wolf River coil. Very durable. I've run this coil when I go down to Houston, see my brother-in-law, and with a 102-inch stainless steel whip on the back of my truck, doing 70, 80 miles an hour, and that's not moved. It's very well built. But to change the frequency, that's all you do. And then with an antenna tuner, then I can tune it to whatever frequency I want just by adjusting this up and down. Now, it's a pain in the rear if you're mobile, because if you want to go from 20 meters to 15 meters, you got to stop, get out, readjust it, put the antenna analyzer on it, and make it happen. But this is a very good antenna. And this is how I use it. It's the same way as this. I just put this coil down there and my 102-inch stainless steel whip. Go ahead. It's probably wide. I mean, it's not that narrow. Now on 80 meters, we're talking about a lot of real estate, but on 20 meters, I can pretty much cover, if I tune this thing to 14,250, I can pretty much cover most of 20 meters. So it works very well. Now, the subject of verticals and ground radials. You guys that have verticals, how many ground radials do you have? Okay. And it just depends on like I said, the ground at your house. But a radial should be cut for the frequency or frequencies. For instance, he has 8 radials. Are they all the same length? I think so. And there's the key. So when you put up radials with a vertical, you want to put up radials that are going to correspond to the frequencies you're going to be using. So I'll give you, for instance, as you can see, I'm a buddy pole aficionado. I think I have everything buddy pole ever made. During Route 66 on the air, WD5G and myself will usually end up out at Pops on Route 66, and that's where we operate from. And every year, we always use buddy pole 20-meter vertical with 2 14-foot radials elevated. And I can well, it's a great little antenna. And because it is a vertical, low takeoff angle, you can work DX with it. We have worked into France, QRP, with that 20-meter vertical. But because I've tried it with and without the radial, it works much better with those elevated radials. Now, I found something. This is aluminum screen door stop. Now you can see this has never been opened, but this is what I would have used underneath my vertical. So I'd stretch this thing out. It's 84 inches long. I'd stretch it out and I'd set my vertical in the middle of it just like this. And I would attach radials to the bottom. Or I would use this. And just take a wire and clip it with an alligator clip to the edge of it. Then I said, you know what? I read about, how many know what a Faraday cloth is? It's a Faraday cloth. Now, I know he has one. This does the same thing, but even better than that. Because this is Faraday. Okay, what are we talking about? If I wrap my cell phone in this, you'd never be able to call me. So this works very well as a ground. So I stretched this out. This is also 84 inches long. It's a little wider than that. And I attached an alligator clip from the ground here to this. And let me tell you what. Yeah. Yep, that too. It works perfect. I mean, it just works so well. So you have that. Yep. It's pretty good stuff. Okay. So let's talk about this antenna. This is called a slotted cube. It's made out of copper pipe. I welded it myself. You can tell I'm not the best. But this thing works on 2 meters. And I built this because I saw an article in QST. I can't think of the guy's call sign now, but I'll think of it then. But this thing works really good for short distances. I could put this out in my backyard and I can hit all the repeaters, clean up to Edmond and down into Norman. And I live off of Southeast 82nd and Sooner Road. This thing worked great. You can tell it's been outside for a long time. I've used this for probably the last 3 years, and it's a great little antenna. It's tedious to build, but you know that's what this is all about.
Put that on gold.
Yeah. Yep. And it's tie wrapped to my fence post.
Is it directional?
Somewhat, but it's more omni than anything else.
It's infinite orbit at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, and it's a great little antenna. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's what I thought this was at first, but it's not. It's a slotted cube. Now I have, did I bring that with me? No, I meant to bring my 6 meter square. Now there's an old antenna for you. Let's talk about J-poles, which is a form of a vertical. This is a dual band J-pole. I've had this one here before when we tried to do mesh-tastic stuff back, or not mesh-tastic, but WinLink to the WinLink repeater up on Channel 4 tower. And this is really a Faraday cage in this building. So. But this is a great little antenna. I use it in my house sometimes, and it works really good. But that's a J-pole. Then you're gonna like this. I had DirecTV at one time and decided, I don't want DirecTV anymore. I took the dish down. I don't think you can see it, but here are lines that I drew, and they're measured. And this is, once I get this done, it's called a slot antenna. Now this is going to be a tri-band slot. The guy who designed this is the same guy who did the slotted cube. But all you do is you tool or whatever, and cut on those lines and attach the ground to one side and the center conductor to the other side. And it works very well. This covers 2 meters, 222, and 440. Very directional. It is. It's a really good antenna. So if you have an old direct TV dish or whatever, and you want to experiment, there you go. And what I was going to do is attach a switch so that I could just switch between them, and works great. Probably, but then again, you mean Mesh-tastic or Arden? Arden, these wouldn't be the Arden frequencies we need. We need, we're talking gigahertz up there. But Mesh-tastic is still on, it would be on 415 or 915 or whatever, so you'd have to build it for that. But it would be good once you, built yourself measured it out.
Horizontal slot produces a vertical.
Yes. Glad you mentioned that. We just happen to have a satellite antenna. This is called an arrow antenna, dual band. And the reason it's made this way is because when a satellite is rotating up top, you have, what's that called?
Doppler effect.
Doppler effect. There you go. It has a Doppler effect. Well, this kind of does away with the Doppler effect. In other words, it helps you with that. And that here you have the 2 meter portion of this, and then the vertical side of it is 440. That right. Those are helicals. Yeah. I've used this antenna attached to my H2 to work ISS, space shuttle, or space station, and I've used it to work several satellites, low Earth orbit satellites with this antenna. And all you do is you just listen for the higher noise, and then you can follow it with your hand. It's not heavy. After the end of the club meeting today, you can come up and pick it up. But that is an Arrow satellite antenna. It works good. It's got good gain, and it will let you work the satellites. Okay, we'll talk about one more. This is also an antenna I built for satellites. It's a Moxon. This being the Moxon portion of that. The satellite. It's separated here by a piece of. This is also an antenna I built for satellite. Non-conducting, whatever. It could be tubing, and then I covered it with heat shrink tubing. But the driven element is here. It's the top side. Now, Yagis, this is a Yagi. Yagis have the distinction of having a lot of gain, depending on the antenna. And those of you that, believe the manufacturer's gain, you should just forget all of that. Because it doesn't necessarily mean a lot. They exaggerate it, and they do their gain figures on a pristine antenna field. So when you see a manufacturer says, well, our 10 element Yagi has 25 dB gain, right? So now you're going to go, oh, well, it must be worth the $1,200 they want for it. Don't believe that.
Make money for it, coming out with the game.
Yeah, really. This antenna, I built. A gentleman in Sweden came up with this antenna. It's a little bit heavier because of the PVC tubing, but I attached a camera mount here so that I could put it on my tripod if I wanted to. So this works very well. It is a 2 meter, 70 centimeter. This is the 2 meter portion of it. And these little ones are the 440 portion of it. Now, the way a Yagi works is you have a driven element. This is where the coax is attached. Then you have a reflector that's directly behind it. The reflector, Yagis only have one reflector. They have one director, one reflector, and depending on the number of elements it has, these are all called parasitic elements. Why? Because they're not driven. What happens is you put the, all antennas work on the fact that your radio puts out a voltage, and that voltage is translated into the antenna to go out. So here is your director. It directs back to the reflector. Doesn't go that way, it goes back here. Then the reflector, because the reflector is always longer than the director, and like I said, we're not going to get into the weeds here because we would be here for months just talking about that. But what happens is you put the voltage here, it goes back here, it's reflected forward, and that's where you get the gain. And these are parasitic elements that tend to amplify that gain. So the more parasitic elements you have, the more gain you're going to have in that antenna. This antenna has about 6 dB of gain. Oh, yes. Yes. And it's directed here. So you have a very strong signal here. And depending on the spacing is dependent on what your beam width is too. So you've got to, sometimes you may have a 30-degree beam width, which the further out it gets, the more signal you're going to have. Now, it also has what's called front to back ratio. And you work stations off the back of the beam. Done it many times. Go ahead. Yes. No. Nope. Well, it's not true. Yes, they are. This one's smaller than this one. Yes. And the spacing affects the gain of the antenna also. Now you have this antenna, like I said, has a front to back ratio, and they're designed that way because you want all of your forward gain going in one direction. And it does have some lobes off the side. Just this week, Tuesday, 6 meters open. How many are 6 meter free? What? Ooh, man, you guys just don't know. I had the beam pointed up towards Utah, and I worked a guy in Arizona. So you can work people off the side lobe, but they need to be strong. Then again, 6 meters. So how many of you worked Aurora last night? How many of you know that last night at about 9 o'clock at night, we had one of the strongest geomagnetic storms we've ever had here. The kilo index was a 9. That's not good for HF. Yes, yeah. Last night, Channel 5 had some guys that took pictures of the aurora from Edmond and all over the place. It was really neat. But so yeah. So this is called a Yagi. It's not. Optimize it. Yep. This is very specific. This is the Moxon part of it. The dimensions, the guy from Sweden did a lot of experimentation with it, and I don't know how much wire he wasted by experimenting, but it was a lot. And he figured out all of the dimensions. I never have to tune this. I attached this to my HT, and I was able to work the satellite right off the get-go. Probably 100 watts. I mean, there's no balun in it at all. It's just, this connection here, which is, there's nothing in it. I don't know, 1,000 watts. That would be a molten metal. Yeah, I don't even know if there's a, I don't even know if there is a wattage figure for this antenna. It is. And it's heavy. You can feel it's not a light antenna. No, it's not. And I mean, it's not overly heavy. Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it works. That's a good deal. Yeah. What else? Oh. Hmm.
They don't have a power rating on that. Get a power rating.
I don't think I've ever seen one. No. Yeah, I didn't see one either. So. I mean, a lot of guys that work satellites are using their HT, or they're using a mobile. What 50 watt, 75 watt mobile. Yeah, there's going to be some pissed off people. Yeah, 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 really. Okay. Now, this antenna, I keep forgetting the name of this antenna, so I'm going to have to look it up. Hang on. That's it. No, it is a bow tie, but it's called an hourglass loop, is what it's called. And these are actually tuning stubs. Frequency is 440 megahertz, so it's 70 centimeter antenna. It's so simple. You just bend it like this, cross it over in the middle. The bottom portion is the same width as the top portion. And in the middle, it's not cut. I just put heat shrink tubing so that they don't touch. They're not supposed to touch. But this is a great little 440 antenna. I can hit all the 440 antenna or the repeaters in Oklahoma City from inside my room. Now, my room is not a Faraday cage like this building, but this is a really good antenna. And it took me about an hour to build. So it's not tough at all. I have an antenna tuner. Yeah, especially on the tuning stub. What I did is I put my antenna analyzer on this. I have several, and I started with their recommended length on the tuning stub. And all they are is wrapped around this and then taped. That's all it is. Stranded wire. And that's all I did. And then as I cut, 1/16 of an inch off of each one of them and got it to where the SWR was down to 1.3 to 1. So this works very well. Yep. Hold on. Up and down, the directions indicate that you need to put the tuning stubs halfway between here and here. Just the length of the tuning stubs. Yep. Yes. The wire stripped back and wrapped around the wire. Yeah. What else? What else? What else? You guys have any questions while we're talking? I will tell you, in-fed halfways. All the ones that I build are 49 to 1. Why? Because at the feed point, you're looking at 3,000 to 4,000 ohms resistance. 49 to 1 brings that down to 50 ohms, between 50 and 60. So it's very important that if you're going to build an in-fed half wave on your own, you can make it 49 to 1, you can make it 56 to 1, or you can make it 64 to 1. I've used all of them and I found that 49 to 1 works best for me. And how many of you have one of my in-fed half wave antennas? And they work very well, at least from what I've been told. But I use one in my house too, so they work very well. They're easy to put up. Like I said, you don't need to run them in a straight line. You can zigzag them all over the place if you want to.
I've got a posted state sidewalk. I keep that. In my house, I run diagonally, 66 feet long and 30 meters extension. I run a diagonal 66 feet. The house is in the yard, about 20 foot up. And I have to know to do it twice. I did it on less than 100 watts. I'm using that is it works.
Yes.
I was wondering, you mentioned that you wanted to increase it to 80. And you took the end of the antennas and made some sort of a place the next time to the next.
Yes.
How does the radiation pattern work on that?
An in-fed has a carotid. Yeah, but it's got a longer node up front. So it looks, yes. And on an in-fed half wave, there are many ways to do that. Mine starts up at about 20 feet on my tower and goes down. Now, a lot of people place them on a 3-foot pole and run it up to a tree in an inverted V or sloping. And it works great. Me, I don't know what, quite frankly, I couldn't tell you what the antenna pattern looks like on mine because it goes there, and back down there. But it works great. And all directions? Yes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't change the direction of which way the wire runs on my antenna. I mean, it's been fixed that way for, my commercial one that I bought from myantennas.com. I've had up for 8, 9 years. And never changed direction with it. And I've worked all over the world. So
let's see, 40, 83, 40, well, 89, the long field, without over the.
yep.
And the house system, bus service and traffic, is a thing to conduct it. Then I one of them, couldn't breathe, but the bottle from both the three, one of the wall. They got to be wild, and it's about 80 mile an hour, 60 mile an hour, that's the one.
Yep.
One of them,
My end feds are made with one 240/43 core with 18 gauge wire, and that's the wind is 18 gauge. The wire itself is 14 gauge stranded silicone, and it's strong. It works great. People have told me they have run. I only run about 7 watts to mine, but people have told me they run 100 watts. And if your SW on an infant half wave, you'll know that your core is saturated when your SWR starts going up. When the SWR goes up, the core heats up, changes the impedance, changes everything. And so what do you do? Well, either reduce your power so it doesn't do that, or stop transmitting until it cools down and then start up again. Because it does not do harm to the core. Yep. No, they tell you if you're going to put a common mode choke on any infed, whether it's infed or OCF, whatever, that you do it right there at the radio. Oh yeah. That is what. Oh, I got one more antenna. This is called a Slim Jim antenna. All it is 450 ohm ladder wire. And the guy who makes these, I didn't build this, the call sign is November 9 Tango Alpha X-ray. They're very professionally done, but I have this hanging in my room from a eye hook in my ceiling. I just clip it in there, run it down, and this attaches to my IC705. Where's my other NCI IC705? Oh, there he is. Ed has a 705. This is what I use UHF, VHF. So 32.99, I think. But this works great. Inside my room, attached to the ceiling and run to my 705, I can work every repeater from Edmund down to Scott. And it works really good. Matter of fact, he's going to buy one right here. But, do I? Oh, yeah. So, you know, to end the discussion, antennas are not a mystery until you get into the weeds. When you start talking about velocity factor of your coax, each coax has a velocity factor that can affect the SWR, and so you need to be aware of that. But for the most part, antennas, you want to put all your money in your antenna. Because if you put your money into a, $3,000 for a 1,500 watt amplifier, and the antenna that you're putting it into, you paid $20 for. Yeah, that too. Exactly.
Realize that we talked about this this statement.
They're a great antenna. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize. I love mine, and especially I love it even more because I only paid what $125, I think, and it's yes sir.
Around the ground and side. But you rely on the rigid lines and expanding steel lines. Everybody says, oh, you have to have time. That stainless steel won't work. Well, stainless steel is good conducting. Goes into most of your antenna. Stainless steel. So it is matched. 6 feet long, 55 volts, when it's 30 feet. There's why I'm passing a lot line across all over the world. You can load it 1,600 watts, people that no loaded, guys heat it up,
Yeah. The bottom line is experiment, especially the newer hams. Experiment with antennas. Build your own. Try to build your own. QST's got some great articles. ARRL has an antenna handbook that's got some great antennas in it. If you want to learn antenna theory, build one. Like I said, this is an HF vertical. No, there's no radials attached. This is just a tripod. Yes. Yeah, there's a fine line there, but NVIS, who knows what that stands for?
Here.
That's right. Yeah, that's what it is. So, NVIS is short haul. It's not designed to be a DX antenna. So for instance, if you had an NVIS, I had a question this morning about you did about, oh, I got somebody in Arkansas. Is that you or somebody else? NVIS would be a good antenna for that. Not so much a beam, because I've got a 6 meter beam, and it's really tough for me to work anything close in. That's right. So And this antenna is the answer.
People would probably run that six to just the house. So you want to see it is an antenna, just to do the problem. Close to the ground. That the building is down right by the house, so you see the load go over.
Yep.
They both think we talk about this to do it. So you got to figure it out. If you don't think the house, nobody can.
No, and then the last thing I'll tell you is my 80 to 10 infid on my IC 705 with my AH 705 antenna tuner, I can work 160 meters. So now granted, I may only be putting out 1 or 2 watts, but it works. And I've made QSOs all over the United States with that 80 to 10 meter infid going through my antenna tuner. So, like he said before, invest in a good antenna tuner. QRPers who go out mobile, who's the POTA guy in here? Yeah, there he is. I don't take an antenna tuner with me. My antennas are resonant on the frequency that I'm going to work on. And that's another thing. Resonant antennas is the way to go. Because when you use an antenna tuner, it's you're taking away some of that power. Exactly, because that's all it's doing is fooling the radio that he wants to see 59. Any more questions? If not, they want to get with the business meeting. I'll be here after the meeting if you guys want to.
All right.
Let's take 5 minutes. The IC705 is a mobile, so if I was looking to get another radio,
It's a QRP radio. Let me get rid of this. Yes, it's it only puts out 5 watts. Well, 10 watts if you're on 13.8 volts. 5 watts if you're on battery. So unless you're going to want to get into QRP,
We had 3 come down in the storm.
It's a grease, it's called laser tailor. And it'll be running around your area. Okay.
That's on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's get going, guys and gals. All right, let's get going with the business meeting, please. So once everybody gets their seats back, we'll introduce everyone. If Bill Lockett could take his seat, please. Bill is a social butterfly. It is that time of year for running for office. Let's start with introductions. Mr. Klein.
Hello, oops, I turned it off. VR.
Gary, KJ5, KTP. Larry, W5, LSD. Bill, A5F. Ken, KAWG.
Old habits die
So
hard.
David changed his call sign. And I'm Rodney, KF5 UZA. Let's have a secretary's minutes. Do we have a secretary in the room? Well. So we have Bob, Steve, Dave, Kevin, Carl, anyone else? Oh, Frank. Welcome all of those online. And Ken. I think I said Carl. Oh, there's Carl. All right. I don't think that's on.
Testing, testing. There we go.
There it goes.
Helps if the microphone's on. Okay. So last month we had 42 members in person and 5 online. The meeting was led by our Vice President, Mike. Larry gave the treasury report. VE report, we had 2 new techs, 1 new general, and 1 upgrade to amateur extra. ARRL new report, but there is new Aries training on the ARRL website. Mark has not confirmed it himself yet. Dayton Hamfest is coming up this month, and OKC Ham Holiday is coming up at the end of July. Mark Clayton gave an update on the upcoming field day. Plan is doing a combination setting up in the field and also having the building available if needed. Running 3 stations, single sideband, CW, and digital for the duration of the event. There are lots of volunteers needed for setup and operation on June 22nd and 23rd. The program was over EMP and Faraday cages by Lee. Announcements, update on Phil's health. He's recovering at Excel in Oklahoma City. Still having trouble standing up, but it's in good spirits and hopefully be able to come home soon. Scars has been asked to assist with Boy Scouts Jamboree on the air this year. Scars, Edmund, and the Auto Patch Society will be working with them to set up stations and get scouts on the air on HF, VHF, and digital. Moment of silence was observed for the silent keys for the past month. And for those that did not know, Coax Man passed away last month as well. There was a briefing on the Memorial Marathon, and the meeting ended at 10:53.
Thank you. Larry, treasurer's report.
It starts 24. Yeah. Lots of talking between the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marty McFly.
No, my wife. While he's doing that, I'll go over the balance sheet so he can bring up the profit loss. Balance sheet, in the checking account, we have $2,718. In the savings accounts, we've got $24,079, 119 in cash, bringing the total assets to $26,916. Profit loss, had $303 in membership coming in. The donors were pretty much a wash last month. For a net income of $343.57. Anyone have any questions?
all of that to say we are a very financially stable club. BE report.
Meeting halfway. Okay, this month we had 3 applicants test. We have a new technician, Mr. Crowder, William Crowder, KJ5GEY. Thomas, upgraded to amateur extra, and your call signs. There you go. He can say it better than I can. And Carrie, you upgraded to general. 2 is KJ5FQP. Our next session will be June 6th. How can I forget June 6th? So if you have any questions, let me know. Other than that, we'll see you on Thursday, June 6th.
June 6th. And then June 22nd at field day. You should have done a tech too, Ed. Anything to discuss on tech committee? All right, Klein, let's talk about Cora, ARRL.
Okay. Cora and ARRL. Cora is the Central Oklahoma Radio Amateurs. It's a club of clubs. We as SCARS are a member of that club. We have about 6 or 7. I can't remember. We've changed it recently. 6 or 7 club members or clubs that are a member of that. We started to do Hamfests. We did the Oklahoma City Hamfest since 1974. We took on the responsibility of the Ardmore Hamfest a couple of years ago. So we now do 2 Hamfests. And in addition, a bunch of fine folks like Clay have brought a bunch of cool projects to Cora that we end up doing for bike races and what are you going to talk about today? Liberty Fest, parades, parades and other stuff. So Cora is the place to go to if you want to get involved in those kind of things. That information is all on the Cora website at coraok.org, coraok.org. And we have all of that information. Lots more to come is probably the best way to say that. You want me to bring Clay in at this point? Would that be
Sure, that'd be great.
Clay is one of the fine folks from Edmond. We got him a visa to come south of 240 for the day. So be kind to him. You know, we got to be nice to him. But it's a MasterCard. But he's here from that Edmond area to give us an opportunity for SCARS members to assist in what's really a fun event. And it happens, once a year? I can't remember the date. You remember what it is?
4th of July. Well, thanks for having me and thanks for sliding me into the agenda mid Friday night. Liberty Fest is 6 or 7, depending on the political feel of from the city. 6 or 7 events around 4th of July. The last weekend of June, we have a rodeo, car shows, concert in the park. We have a antique radio show. They kind of do World War II type radio broadcasts and enact them out at our museum. Then we have the fireworks and the 4th of July parade on the 4th. I need help with the parade. Liberty Fest is a 100% volunteer organization. We get money from the city, but it goes all into the events. It is manned mostly by amateur radio operators. I am the parade chairman and probably number 2 or 3, depending on who makes the organizational chart, in charge of the entire event. If you guys are familiar with KE5, KQL, Frankie Tassoni, He's my logistics guy. We have no professional staff, and I need help from amateur radio operators because you are a force multiplier. I can hand you whatever hat I need you, and you guys will get it done. We stage it, we run safety and security. There's a couple meetings that I go to that I have found out that there are more three-letter agencies running around Oklahoma than I ever thought there was. We have U.S. Department of Transportation that runs around taking care of our drone problem. But I need help on the 4th of July. It is a early morning. We start about 6 o'clock. We're done by noon. Have 105 participants. We run mostly downtown Oklahoma, or I'm sorry, too much marathon stuff. Mostly downtown Edmond. We stage it on the UCO campus. If you work the parade and you don't want to work the fireworks, you can come up for the fireworks and we'll put you in VIP. I guarantee you will not get any closer to fireworks than we'll put you. I typically stand right behind the guy who pushes the button that says go. I tell people sometimes if you have sensitive ears, bring earplugs. And no, I'm not going to get you that close. There's been a couple years I've run Nomex when I did the safety and security stuff. I was out around the fireworks launch site to make sure what goes up detonates in the air and not detonates on the ground. We did have one incident where we sucked 10 windows out of the liberal arts building when an entire pallet went off. About 500 pounds of explosives at the same time. That's on my YouTube page, by the way, that video. Yeah, it's a fun event. Listed in the top 10 4th of July parades in the country. I started as an amateur radio at Ayers and Bauman, making sure traffic goes where traffic is supposed to go. And 2 years ago, the guy who had done the parade for 50 years retired for some strange reason. And they asked me to volunteer. They said, hey, you know how this runs. You've been here long enough. But I've been with Liberty Fest since 2001. So if you want, Mark will have the information, but you can sign up at the EARS webpage, which is k5eok.org. You can send me an email either at my call sign, which is WA6LBU Whiskey Alpha 6 Lima Bravo Uniform @gmail.com, or parades@libertyfest.org. And if you have any questions, Mark has my phone number. I haven't had a day off in 3 weeks, so I come down here and of course I grab my work hat instead of a ham hat. But thanks all, and come on up, have fun on the 4th of July with us.
Well, actually, you serve ham at Jimmy John's, right? So you've got the right hat. You're in good shape. That's a great event. They're looking for what, 30? 50 hams? And you have to have a PhD to be involved? No, you don't have to have a PhD. You just have to have a license. Oh, well, yeah, Aubrey's got 3, so we're okay.
We will throw you out on a corner and say, hey, this is what needs to be done. If you've never done a parade, never worked Liberty Fest, you'll work with people. I can.
Yep. So if you're new, it's a great place to do 2 things. One is to use your radio and actually do something with it. 2 is to learn from other folks, because like he said, they'll put somebody with you to make you share. You want to come back instead of want to be scared and never come back again. So good event. There's also one, I don't know the date off the top of my head. Major Tom, where's Rodney? I'm looking for him. He's gone. Major Taylor's date. Do we know when that is?
That would be June 29th.
There's Rodney. June 29th. Major Taylor's is a
East Side Bike Ride.
hey, go take it.
Well, It'll be on the website, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be on the website, but it's another bike ride that's happening in, they said east side, and we heard the other day at Cora that it was kind of east everything. I think they have 5 different courses, everything from 10 miles to 62 miles of bike riding. It is not a race. There's no wagering. It's kind of a fun ride thing. And Major Taylor's, anybody know what Major Taylor is? It is a national something. And I don't know if it's a military thing, but it is a club that does this all over the country, and they're doing one in Oklahoma City this year. Auto Patch Society, Duane is here from that group. Their folks are the ones that are taking a lead on this. Thomas Webb is the guy, WA9 AFM is his call sign. And it's another fun one you can go do stuff for. We got more in the fall. We got one in bike run in December. We've got parades in December. All kinds of stuff that you want to get involved with. Let us know. What else you need, man?
Anything AARL?
ARRL. ARRL is alive and well and doing its thing. There has been nothing really big happening recently on that front. They still sponsor all of our Hamfest, which is wonderful. It is the National Association for Amateur Radio. If you're not a member, you probably ought to consider doing it. It's about the best thing you can do to get yourself advanced. There's a bunch of training involved that you can get with it. You can get 4 different magazines all online. You pay extra and you get the paper for now. There's a QST magazine that was talked about in Duane's thing a couple times. There's a QEX, which now has the experimenter stuff, which is kind of fun if you like to build stuff. There's the National Contesters Journal that probably Kim Elmore is the one that the contest guys go after that. And oh, there he is. Yeah, there he is. There he is. And there's a really cool one called On the Air. It was aimed at new people, but it's really a good place. They take a topic and they go front to back on that whole topic. So if it's, let's say, a coax, it talks to you about what coax does. It talks to you about how to put the ends on it, and what kind of ends are on it, those kind of things. So it takes you from the start to the finish. So even though it says it's for new people, it's a really good way. They've done a really good piece to put a lot of good graphics in it. And, even those of us that can't read big words can get along with that kind of thing. So a lot of those things from the ARRL stuff. We will have Hamfest. Next one is Oklahoma City coming up in July. Enid is going to have one in September. They moved it from November, so I have to think. Enid's up in September 14th at the fairgrounds there. We'll have the Ardmore one down in South Oklahoma City, which is Ardmore. It was missed by this tornado. The tornado came up from the southwest. It saw the convention center and said, hey, those ham guys need to have their convention here. So it lifted up and then boom, came down over there on the other side. So convention center is just fine. That gets those. There is those of us old guys that remember Hamcom out of Dallas. There's a group in June that has come up with a Hamcom-esque. They can't call it Hamcom because the guys that own the Hamcom thing want to charge big money. They ain't been using the word Hamcom. So I've been now sued 3 times in that sentence. But it's out of Lewis. Was it Lewistown? Lewis, Texas. Louisville. That's it. DFW Ham Expo, and it's going to be it'll be the same second week in June, which is what always goofs us up. We'll see how it happens, and they're going to try to build that back slowly and to make it all happen. Anything else, sir?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
All right, let's do some nets. 6-meter net.
Sorry, this thing scared me. 6-meter net, Monday night, 8 o'clock, 50.200. We've been averaging probably about 10 or so. And it'd be nice to have a few more. So once again, it's 8 o'clock Monday night, 50.200 upper sideband. Come join us.
Aries net.
All right. Back off. All right, the Aries net. Yeah, there we go. Aries net every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Come join us. It's just we go off a roster. It's a real quick, easy one. Real quick, good net to have. 31-4. No.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
On Mondays at 8:15 PM on Talk Group 3140 is the Aries DMR net. That net has really grown. We've had a lot of out-of-staters starting to check in on that one. So a lot of fun. So if you're on DMR, come join us on that one.
all right. How about the gossip net? Denny?
Oh, right after the Aries net at 8:30. Yeah, they have the gossip net where you can check in there and talk about anything you like and have a lot of fun with it. And the Mac net in the mornings, 9 o'clock. We've been getting in the last week or so, we've had this, 42, 44 check-ins. It's been running in the high 30s and low 40s for a couple of weeks now. So there's a lot of folks that come out there to say good morning. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Come join us.
And the 10-meter net.
And the last net of the week, the 10-meter net on Wednesdays at 8 PM, 28.445 upper sideband. Come and join in.
And the siren net.
I gotta be Wayne again, huh? Siren Net Saturday at noon when the cities are testing. We check out the cities of Moore, Norman, Noble, and Newcastle. We could use some people in Moore and Newcastle starting to build out. So if you are interested in monitoring a siren, let us know.
Also, on the Aries net, we need a new or another net control operator. Chad is going to have to step aside for a little bit. So we could definitely use another net control operator, and it'd be once every about 5 weeks. So if you're interested, come see me on that one.
The Norman Volunteers.
Thank you. I'm coming today as not a club member, but a member of Norman Emergency Management. And as some of you may or may not know, Norman is building, or has completed actually, a new emergency operations center. It's at 24th and Robinson Northeast, just east of 24th. 20,000 square foot building, hardened to Category 5. It's an amazing facility. In there is going to be a radio room that we need staffed. So we're looking for radio operators. We're looking for people that might want to also work in the field. But all of this is not as a club member. It is a member of Norman Emergency Management. So if you are interested, you'd like to get some training, have some questions, whatever, please contact me. I'll give you everything and we'll get you started. Thank you.
All right. Well, one other thing, especially with all the weather that we've been having, Mark Clayton and I right now are running the Cleveland County Aries Severe Weather Net. We would rather not have anybody out chasing storms. In fact, we discourage that. If you do want to help participate, we would take reports from just about anybody. But whenever we activate the net, we try to keep everybody, if the weather's coming in, we try to let everybody know that we're looking at it and monitoring it. If you want to report from your house, that's great. And, just someplace safe. We always ask that you report hail greater than quarter size, nothing smaller. We don't need reports of rain. We do not need reports that the sirens are going off. Wind speeds, either measured or estimated, 50 miles an hour or more. Of course, if you do know how to identify a funnel cloud versus a tornado, we always take those reports as well. But if you all want to participate in that net, you can just tell us what you're seeing. Again, we always list the criteria that we need reported at the beginning of those nets. I've got one more quick announcement. Bing is needing some help today. If anybody can help Bing out, he just needs to raise an antenna, take about an hour of time. It's a vertical. He needs about 3 or 4 people to help. If you all can help him, Bing's right here. Come see him after the meeting. He could sure use a hand. All right, Rob.
All right. So when they remodeled this room, our hats disappeared, but then they reappeared. So we have a few black hats and some pink ones for $15, but we only have a few. So we would like to order some new hats in khaki and black. So I would welcome a motion to purchase new hats for $1,500. Do we have a second? All right, motion passed. Thank you. So, Mark, order some hats. Mark got it covered. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Also today, starting at 4 o'clock or thereabouts, we're going to have our spring picnic at the Denny Ranch, and Mark will put up the address, location, maybe even map coordinates. He's working on that. Also, I wanted to remind everyone on June 22nd is field day. Next month, we'll have a discussion about field day and make sure we have all of the positions covered. Anything else to come before the club? Yes, yes. Let's start with Galen.
So I have a new piece of equipment. This is a portable APRS tracker unit. The Middale Club has some of these that were used through the marathon. That are older versions. I have the new version here if anybody would like to look. It's got powered by LiPo batteries, and it's kind of a cool little unit, all in one.
Interstate batteries.
From where?
In regards to the picnic, we will be monitoring the frequency. So if anybody needs to be talked in, we'd be more than happy to help you with that.
It's really easy to find once you know where to go.
The big bridge, 3 feet.
It's just past the
3 feet. The 3 feet. 3 feet past the bridge. They said it's right after the bridge. No, it's 3 feet. You gotta lock up the brakes.
Should be coming around the other way. But she's just doing great.
You get to the bridge, stop.
You've gone too far.
Okay, one other quick thing, Mr. Brent over here, Brent, wave your arm over there. Hi, so everybody can see you. Has some of these Song radios. If anybody's interested in them, he make you a good deal on them. He does have those, and we can put the firmware in it and some frequencies in it to get you started. So anybody's interested, let them know.
Does anybody else have anything to sell? We haven't. All right. Enjoy the weather out there today, guys and gals. I think we are adjourned. Thanks for all the ones coming. Oh. Why does it need to be gone? Stick it in the air.
Well, we got a tree growing to the side. The tower is up, down the yard.